On the afternoon of July 29th, several travelers on their way to Dunhuang, Gansu, encountered a rare sandstorm. The sandstorm quickly engulfed the highway, with one tourist describing it as feeling like stepping into a post-apocalyptic novel. In the videos filmed by netizens, strong winds whipped up a cloud of yellow sand, forming a sand wall over 100 meters tall that rushed toward them. Vehicles traveling on the highway were suddenly swallowed by the storm. Once they entered the sand, visibility dropped to just a few meters. Drivers slowed down and turned on their hazard lights, with some even pulling over. Many netizens left comments on the videos, saying, "I traveled from Dachaidan to Dunhuang last night and experienced my first sandstorm. It was terrifying. I also happened to encounter it yesterday. It scared me so much, the first time I've ever encountered a sandstorm. I watched it grow from a small spot in the distance until it completely surrounded us. We were on the road, waiting for over an hour, unable to see the road. It was huge." Local netizens in Gansu also commented, "This is the biggest sandstorm I've ever encountered. I was eating out, and it added 2 ounces of dirt to my big plate of chicken." Around 7 p.m., the Jiuquan meteorological station issued a yellow alert for the sandstorm. The next morning, several tourists visiting Dunhuang shared their experiences. Ms. Chen from Jiangsu recalled that the weather was normal in the morning, but in the evening, strong winds suddenly kicked up, followed by the sandstorm. With the help of a kind-hearted driver, she and her companions safely returned to their hotel. Ms. Zhang from Beijing also mentioned that this was her first time experiencing a sandstorm up close, describing it as blocking out the sky and sun. She said she truly experienced one of the local special products. In recent years, regions like Gansu, Xinjiang, Qinghai, and Inner Mongolia have repeatedly faced powerful sandstorms, and the intensity and frequency of these storms have been increasing over the past year. Many local residents said they've never experienced such powerful storms before. On July 28th, a group of students from the south traveled to Xinjiang and were also caught in a strong sandstorm. They expressed how, as southerners, it was their first time encountering such a terrifying storm. They recalled that they were hit by strong winds and rain mixed with yellow sand. What was even stranger was that they heard weird growling sounds in the wind, sounds that no known animal could possibly make. In a video captured by students, one of them said, "I really couldn't see anything, so we just found the nearest building and hid inside." On July 7th, Xinjiang also experienced a strong sandstorm. A netizen uploaded a video expressing how shocked they were by the scene. In the comments, one person said, "Can you breathe in there?" And another joked, "The sandworms are coming." One netizen said, "Even blockbuster movies can't create such shocking effects. Encountering this is enough to make a lifetime unforgettable." Some even questioned if it was real, but netizens confirmed it, saying that they grew up there, and this was real. The sandstorm in the wilderness isn't the scariest part. When it hits the city, that's terrifying. In a flash, water and power were cut off. It became dark, visibility dropped to less than half a meter, and people didn't dare to walk. On the same day, a netizen recorded their entire drive into the sandstorm. They said this was the biggest, most shocking, and thrilling one they had ever experienced. Many netizens expressed disbelief, pointing out that in the video, many large trucks were turning around to head back. They were amazed that the blogger kept driving into the storm for the views, saying that's really dangerous, risking their life for views. The blogger mentioned that initially they thought it was just a regular sandstorm, and that they could drive through it. But once they entered the storm, visibility dropped to just a few meters. They could hardly see anything, only faintly noticing the warning lights on the roadside. The car's speed quickly dropped to about 5 kilometers per hour, and they eventually had to stop and wait for the storm to pass. One netizen commented, "The air filter on this car must be ruined, and the paint job is wrecked too. Can the views be worth it?" Another asked, "If you throw a firecracker now, would it explode?" This year, a sandstorm also occurred at the Mingsha mountain in Jiangsu, where a filming crew happened to capture stunning footage. A local netizen said, "Even as a local, I rarely see weather like this. I weigh nearly 220 pounds and didn't dare to go outside." Another netizen said, "Watching this makes me want to go and experience it myself. It feels like the next second could be my last." A local netizen added, "It's honestly hilarious. We the people from the Northwest hate this kind of windy weather, but people from the South seem excited. Looks like a movie, but once you're here you'll regret it. Locals like us have sandy eyes and we eat sand every day. Our lungs are full of dirt." During the sandstorm, a netizen drove straight into it. The netizen mentioned that from a distance, they initially thought it was just thick clouds or fog, but as they got closer, they realized it was a sandstorm. They thought it would pass if they kept going. The netizen in the passenger seat said, "Let's just drive and experience it," recording the whole journey. They even told the driver, "I hope this isn't our obituary." but soon the passenger began yelling at the driver to slow down. The two netizens said that once they entered the sandstorm, they immediately became cautious and pulled over to the side of the road. The footage shows that they waited for 20 minutes, with nothing visible outside. It felt as though they were at the bottom of a muddy river. The netizen said the visibility was only about 2 meters at that point. After 30 minutes, the netizen said daytime felt as dark as night. Another car was parked on the side of the road, but they didn't dare to get out of the car. Then they started driving very slowly. After almost 2 hours, they approached an exit ramp. One netizen said the sandstorm had mostly cleared outside, but they still couldn't see anything. After driving for another 10 minutes, they finally reached the toll booth. One netizen commented, "China's toll stations are the most dedicated. No matter if it's windy, rainy, or even if there's an earthquake, regardless of whether the investment in highways has already been recouped, the toll booths are always there to serve you and never forget to collect their fees." As is well known, sandstorms in northern China have become more frequent in recent years. The main causes are overgrazing, overcultivation, desertification, and grassland degradation in the northwest and inner Mongolia. The Chinese government and experts have admitted this in the past. For example, in a 2007 paper by Yang Xiaoping, a researcher at the Chinese Institute of Geology and Geophysics, it was stated that the main source of sandstorms affecting Beijing was the Beijing Desert, located 1,300 kilometers away from Beijing. Although distant, it is still within China's territory, and the government is responsible for taking measures to address the sandstorm sources, no matter how far or difficult the conditions are. However, starting from a sandstorm in March 2021, the Chinese government changed its stance. Various media outlets began pushing the narrative that this terrifying sandstorm originated from Mongolia's Gobi Desert, and China was merely the next stop for the storm. Whether it's complaints from the South Korean or Japanese government, they were told to direct their complaints to Mongolia, as China was also a victim of the storm. In recent years, sandstorms caused by Mongolia have indeed increased, primarily due to overgrazing, especially by goats, which leads to grassland degradation. However, this issue is even more severe in China's inner Mongolia. As we all know, cashmere from goats is often called soft gold. In the vast grassland of Mongolia, the livestock population in the 1990s was about 20 million, but now it has risen to 70 million, including 27 million goats that consume even the roots of the grass. So, how much cashmere do these goats produce each year? By 2021, Mongolia's cashmere production reached approximately 9,700 tons, with most of it being exported to China. China's cashmere production is much higher than Mongolia's, ranking first in the world, and the desertification problem is becoming more severe. It can be said that it is China's extreme pursuit of cashmere that in the short term has caused overgrazing and desertification throughout the Mongolian region. The Chinese Communist Party is the main culprit. The punishment from nature has ultimately fallen back on China itself. This year, the extreme weather and disasters in China have worsened. Even the desert areas of Inner Mongolia have experienced the strongest rainfall in more than half a century. There were strong winds, thunderstorms, and even hail. The heavy rain lasted for 3 days, causing floods in many places, and the vast grasslands were submerged. On the evening of July 26th, the Inner Mongolia Meteorological Bureau reported that from the 23rd to the 26th, the rainfall reached over 60% of the area's annual average, making it the heaviest rainfall since 1956. On August 1st, there will still be rainy weather in Inner Mongolia, with some areas experiencing heavy rain. A tourist told Chinese media that on July 28th, while traveling with his family in Ordos, Inner Mongolia, they were riding camels for about 10 minutes, then the sky suddenly darkened and rain and thunder began. At that moment, thousands of tourists took shelter in the scenic area's cable car station. Outside, it was pitch dark, with a mix of strong winds, rain, and hail, creating a terrifying scene. The tourists said they never expected that the desert would experience such strong winds, thunderstorm, and hail. After being stuck for more than 2 hours, they finally drove off, but the local highways were closed, and the toll booth attendant warned them that the water on the road was nearly 1 meter deep. A netizen captured hail in Yiqi, with hailstones as big as eggs. Another netizen commented that Baotou also experienced hail. Another video uploaded by a netizen shows hail in Hulunbuir in July. The netizen says, "This is from my journey from Arshan to Hailar. The heavy rain and hail in Handagai are quite rare for Hulunbuir, but this is the first time I've seen hail on the road turn into ice." On July 10th, another video showed the experience of hail in Wuyuan County, Inner Mongolia, where sunflower crops were almost destroyed by the hail. The netizen said, "There was still water from the rain 2 days ago, and now another hailstorm hit. Can't the heavens leave the farmers with a way to survive?" In Inner Mongolia's century rainstorm, Hohhot, the capital city, also faced flooding. Local residents mentioned that the heavy rain lasted 3 to 4 days, increasing from the north to the south. The terrain is high in the north and low in the south, with floodwaters from the mountains flowing down and submerging low-lying bridges, culverts, and especially interchanges. Vehicles parked under bridges were completely submerged. Water on the roads kept rising, and cars drove toward higher ground, causing severe traffic jams. The flooding not only affected Hohhot, but also rural areas in Qifeng on July 26. The floodwaters rushed through the streets, submerging homes up to half their height. Villagers who couldn't escape had to take refuge on the rooftops. Looking around, all that could be seen were floods. On July 27th, another video showed floodwaters in the vast grassland of Inner Mongolia. The water wasn't deep, but it created a vast sea. Local residents fled with their livestock by boat. Currently, floods are sweeping through northern and northeastern China. Many local authorities are doing their best to suppress news coverage. There's been little reporting on the floods in Inner Mongolia by mainland Chinese media. One netizen commented that natural disasters in mainland China have intensified, but what is even more angering is the government's cold-blooded response. Human-made disasters are more terrifying than natural ones. In Beijing, continuous heavy rain has led to mountain floods and landslides, and the release of water from reservoirs has caused severe damage. It wasn't until July 31st that the Chinese government officially reported the death of 31 people at an elderly care center in Miyun District, Beijing. The news shocked the outside world, and people felt heartbroken, questioning whether the authorities had concealed the disaster. On July 31st, a press conference on the flood was held in Beijing. Deputy Mayor Xia Limao stated that from July 23rd to 29th, Beijing experienced heavy rainfall, and as of the 31st, 44 people had died, 9 were missing. In Miyun District, 37 people died, including the 31 at the elderly care center. Damages include more than 31,000 houses, 6,994 vehicles, 10 roads, the power facilities of more than 105 villages, and over 680 communication base stations. According to official reports, the elderly care center was located upstream of the Miyun Reservoir. It had 77 people on the 28th, including 8 staff members and 69 elderly residents, 55 of whom were either fully or partially disabled. Party Secretary Yu Weiguo of Miyun District claimed that the area around the elderly care center had long been considered safe, and the disaster response plan did not include evacuating the center. This statement immediately sparked outrage in the public. Some netizens asked, "What do you mean the evacuation plan didn't include it? Was there even an evacuation plan at all? You just deliberately didn't notify anyone about the evacuation?" Others questioned, "What do you mean the area is safe? Is it still safe now? If your own parents were in the nursing home, would you not notify or evacuate them?" Some people also commented, "Why wasn't there an early warning before the flood discharge? Why didn't they evacuate the people when the weather forecasted danger? Is it really so difficult to evacuate dozens of disabled elderly people? Is this intentional murder? It's hard to believe this could happen in Beijing in 2025. At 6:44 a.m. on July 28th, the elderly care center was surrounded by floodwaters. A video showed the fast-moving water reaching the level of the car doors, and the water level was dangerously close to the windows. One elderly person was trapped inside, helplessly lying on the window, waving for help. On July 29th, a relative of one of the residents posted that her great-aunt had drowned in the Miyun flood. The relative told Southern Daily that she only learned of their deaths when she received a phone call from the great-aunt's direct relative. A resident of Liuli Temple Village in Huairou District, Beijing, told reporters that the official death toll was far from accurate, saying that at least 4 people from their village were swept away by the flood, but the authorities had not reported it. Furthermore, over 300 villagers were not evacuated and are still missing, likely to be dead. Mainland Chinese media remained silent on the Beijing floods and casualties until the evening of July 28th. Then, state-run media finally cited directives from General Secretary Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang, acknowledging significant casualties. After that, other media outlets and self-media outlets began to report on the disaster, seemingly following orders. Some netizens have expressed that the Chinese people now are completely hopeless, gradually realizing that natural disasters pale in comparison to man-made ones, and that the Chinese Communist Party is humanity's greatest catastrophe. Some even stated that they would rather have a war and destroy this corrupt regime as soon as possible. One netizen commented, "Hurry up and start the war, bomb everything and start over. Let the economy collapse. It's fine because I can't survive anyway." This is the first time in years that I've seen such a statement online, and it sent chills down my spine. How desperate must one be to have such a thought? Another netizen warned, "Don't think this is just the ramblings of an individual. It's not an isolated phenomenon. When you push the oxen and horses to the edge with no future, they won't just stay silent. They'll either explode in silence or die in silence, and that day is coming soon."